CRINEAR Daybreak is the second CRINEAR IEM, which I have the opportunity to test and review recently after the Meta, and it is priced cheaper, literally half the price of Meta at $169.99. It is built of aluminum faceplate at the front, and at the back transparent, semi-transparent resin, which is about black in color, and it is definitely very lightweight. I have placed it on my scale, and the weight shown was at around just 5 grams each side, so which means that it is very lightweight. Being very lightweight, when you want like this using the supplied ear tips, by the way, it comes only with two types of ear tip, the silicone ear tip and also foam ear tip. I have found that I really like the silicone ear tip, especially the larger size, because it offers me the kind of comfort, the kind of seal which is really excellent. With a good seal, it means that I do not have to crank the volume higher than normal, because usually with any type of metal IEM like the Meta itself, I have to crank the volume slightly higher in order to achieve proper listening level. And also, other than the weight itself, the nozzle size seems to be kind of a bit on the larger side, which is at around 6 mm. So just bear in mind if you have gonna have any kind of issue with larger size nozzle. Rated at 20 ohm with 105 dB of sensitivity. You can say that this CRINEAR Daybreak is fairly easy to drive. I say fairly because when I connect it directly using 3.5 mm single-ended termination to my Xiaomi Mi 90 here, directly from the phone, I was able to drive it to a proper listening level at around 75 out of 100. Now, I would say that for a 20 ohm IEM, I think it is kind of a bit on the higher side, because I have seen that many other IEM which is rated at under 32 ohm can even get away with at around, let's say, 60 to 65 out of 100. So it does seem to me that this CRINEAR Daybreak may need a bit more of power to get proper listening level. The question would be, how does it scale when I attach it to something which is a bit more powerful? Something as simple as this Venture Electronic Devastator here, which is a 2 VRMS dongle, one of my favorite dongle, using the 4.4 mm balance. I would say that it does scale really well with power. I am hearing improvement in the area of, let's say, the dynamic authority itself. The sound just simply sounded a bit richer now. And it gets even better as I scale up the power all the way to 720 milliwatt using this FIO M21 here. Then I am hearing the full potential, I would even say that 100% performance from this CRINEAR Daybreak. And the best part is that despite being super scalable, the good thing is that it does not emit any kind of floor noises at all, even when connected to something which is a lot more powerful, or even R2R dongle. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the second CRINEAR IEM which I have tested so far after the Meta CRINEAR Daybreak. And you might be wondering, let's just start with the differences compared this Daybreak here versus the Meta. And I might even say it like this. I think this should have been called Meta instead of Daybreak, because this thing sounded a bit more of like a reference kind of sound as compared to the more engaging, more immersive sound of the Meta. So let's just get a bit more of detail there. The general tuning for this Daybreak, after spending quite a bit of time listening to it with different kind of sources and different kind of music, I am pretty certain at this point of time that this Daybreak here is definitely something which I would classify as being neutral, transparent, accurate, and highly technical as well. It is more of a technical set rather than musical set, because it emphasizes a lot more on that element of transparency and details. So when it comes to technicality, rest assured that this Daybreak here is pretty much almost on par to the Meta itself, with an exception that, of course, I do feel that the Meta would offer a bit more of upper frequency extension and a bit more of lower frequency extension, which also means that the Meta in comparison would be a bit more bassier, which is why I said it is a bit more engaging and vibrant, because it reaches a bit more on the lower frequency, especially in the sub-bass region. So which also means that this Daybreak, just like many other reference grade monitoring or let's say mixing type of IEM, focusing on accuracy, it emphasizes a bit more on mid-bass rather than the sub-bass. So there's a bit of roll-off there in the lowest frequency, which is the sub-bass region. And due to that, I would even say that it is definitely suitable for certain type of music, but not all type of music. And when it comes to the mid-range, pretty much I would say that, this Daybreak is quite comparable to the Meta, being kind of like transparent, accurate, uncolored, without any hint of warmth. And perhaps the minor difference between this and Meta is that this Daybreak does appear to be kind of a bit leaner, especially when I look into the region of the upper mid-range. It is kind of a bit not as rich or dense sounding as the Meta itself. Otherwise, they are pretty much quite comparable. And the upper frequency, like I mentioned earlier, the Meta offers a bit more of extension, which also means that it offers a bit more of sparkle, a bit more of airiness, a bit more of micro detail, while this is just slightly less, perhaps by 10% less. So meaning to say that this is already 90% of what CRINEAR Meta. And why did I say that initially that this should have been Meta? The Meta word implies that it is a reference sound. And if you ask me, based on my comparison with other similar type of IEM in the market which I have tried so far, let me just put it this way, something which is quite comparable to this Daybreak, something like Atmos ER2 XR, or even Kotori Audio Zapier, or even something like the recently released Let's Shure DX1. They are pretty much quite comparable, being transparent, being neutral, being uncolored, and the kind of pace, rhythm, and timing which is quite comparable as well, because the majority of them are quite fast sounding. They resolve really well, complex passages. They have pretty much similar kind of soundstage, which is fairly wide, not exactly the widest, but it is definitely very circular and holographic. Meta, in comparison, more musical, even though it is highly technical as well, and it is a bit more fun sounding because of the emphasis on the lower frequency, especially the sub-bass. This Daybreak would appear a bit flatter sounding as compared to the Meta, because of that focus of Meta on the lower frequency, especially the sub-bass region. It sounded a bit denser and a bit more musical. I did already mention just now that this Daybreak might be even more suitable for monitoring, especially, or even mixing, because of that accuracy and transparency and neutrality as compared to Meta. So it is again pretty much very comparable to something like Atmos ER2 XR, or even Kotori Audio Zapier, and a few others which is not on top of my mind right now, but you get the idea. To summarize things up, among all of the releases of CRINEAR so far, starting with the Meta, and now we have Daybreak. I haven't tried the reference yet, which is soon to be released, I hope. I would even say that you just need to understand your taste and preference, because it offers the kind of reference grade sound with mature tuning which offer accuracy, transparency, and also details, very good details with macro and micro details. This is the one to go for. Thank you so very much for watching the video until the end, without skipping, I hope. Now click like and subscribe, and also follow me on Instagram under the name of AndyAV. And also, if you'd like to support me directly, you can join the membership below for behind the scene, especially for AAV Insider and above, which will allow you to see what I am doing behind the scene.